It's do or die in this best of 3 here in the bottom left hand corner of 2000 atmospheres from the USA. It's Neeb. His opponent in the blue instead, as our player hailing from Italy, a world champion. It is Reynor. With an OV blocking the way, I know. And here comes the edge block. Is Reynor gonna even bother? No, he's not. It is so common. Why even bother? Gonna take his third. Actually, it's an interesting third as well. Like, taking one on the low ground? It's weird. Like, it makes a little bit more sense against Protoss than it does against Terran. Against Terran is just straight up bad. But he can already give a hint. Maybe he wants to play aggressively. Maybe he wants just a little bit of a most open space. This shot point though might be deadly. But so is this one. Lots of Protoss players. I found a lot of success attacking into this base from this location. Sentries and Colossi together may hold too much of a threat. So Reynor decides to get the other base, which again might prompt him to being a little bit more aggressive due to the closer rush distance within his third and needs natural. Neeb going for a very standard gateway expand. Nothing crazy coming out of any of those two players. And honestly, since this is a pretty important match, it's really no surprise. At least in the first game, they both want to play it slowly and carefully, knowing their opponent might catch them off guard at any moment. It's a Stargate opener on the side of Neeb. Of course, the most optimal opener nowadays. Reynor taking his third, waiting for the right moment to put down Spore Crawlers in his 3 bases. I'm not really going for any amount of scouting. His overloads were just pathing around the map looking for something a little bit crazy coming out of Neeb. None of that is going to happen though, and Reynor will find himself with just the single OV, trying to get into the main, trying to get a scout. He's gonna see one adept blocking the wall, while another is already making its way through the map. First unit out of this target is going to be a Void Ray, which is going to be scouted by Reynor in a very short time. He's probably going to lose his overload, but you can see the shape of that Void Ray being worked in by Neeb. Already getting too much scouting is the Protoss player. His overload is gonna go down. Reynor already had a backup overload to avoid supply blocks. He's making 2 more. He's gonna just explode in drones once the time arises. Meanwhile, it's 6 lings making their way for a scout of his own, while Neeb is ready to send his Void Ray through the map. Oracle incoming shortly out of that Stargate. And Reynor's going to find a probe undefended, no adept. Well, actually there was an adept over here, but yeah. Neeb didn't manage to defend his probe. He's a little bit more focused on this Void Ray. Spore Crawler is a little bit late in this natural. Reynor is going to save the one drone over there, and the other one doesn't get too much attention from Neeb, who's pulling drones on the other side. Was making Reynor pull drones on the other side with his Oracle. Getting 3 kills. While Reynor drops down in Evo Chamber and starts researching melee attack immediately. Another Oracle incoming for Neeb. It's going to be the 3rd one. He's a used to be stats opener. I think he went Phoenix though. But yeah, you can see Neeb wanting to go into something a little bit more aggressive than what stats used to do. He has 4 adepts on the field, Robo behind this, and a Forge incoming as well. All the pieces of the transition are available, meanwhile Neeb on the high ground just waiting for these rocks to be broken. These oracles are gonna lower the ling amount, but Reynor will keep hacking at those rocks with just his queens. Meanwhile, the adepts ready to shade in. Will they find a way? Run button. Will they find a way? Yes, they will. Here in the third base of Reynor, a lot of drones are falling. Meanwhile, in the main, Oracle is getting a lot of heads. And it's 8 drones down. Meanwhile, the adepts ready to shade away. Will they manage to find another shade? Yes, they will. Not very healthy in this natural. One adept immediately falls. And it looks like Reynor will be able to keep the rest of his drones alive. Immortal and Robo Bay incoming from Neeb with a powerful transition into higher tech units. Reynor with his lair up is gonna wait for his Roach Warren to be made and get some defensive units of his own. On Neeb, looks like he wants to keep the foot on the throttle. Oracles in the main again. All drones bountiful, just a couple. Revelation gets dropped onto this main as well. And Reynor, after losing these many drones, still at 72. His stack is nothing sensational, but he has +1 melee. He's building a fair amount of drones, of roaches and lings. He's gonna get some scouting information, seeing the one immortal. Meanwhile, the oracles yet again finding damage into the main. Reynor really trying his best to stop Neeb from getting any more damage, but such a huge feat against these many oracles. One finally falls at the attacks of these queens. Meanwhile, another queen on the other side might get on top of this oracle, and it's going to be a kill. No, it's not. Just barely keeps the other oracle alive, keeping his counter to disruptors incoming as well as archons. It's a little bit of a classic build with a twist. With this Robobay adding disruptor to the CIA Immortal Chargelot Archon. One of the most solid armies in the history of the game, and for very good reasons. Really shines in this matchup as well, with Archons dealing bonus damage to basically everything. But Reynor is building a powerful army of his own, Banelings and Ravagers, you all know the drill. Oh, these Banelings are a little bit in the open, without Baneling speed being available yet. They might be in a pickle. They managed to retreat with the queens covering. Meanwhile, this War Prism will barely survive, and the charge lot attack into the main will not find any significant damage. Hive in the making, Reynor almost at max supply with a huge explosion of units. Also trying to bring creep a little bit forward, while maybe trying to approach at a Queen March. Oh, these Banelings, they're fast now. Oh my goodness, this is very good for the Zero player. So many charge lots immediately fell by these Banelings. Now Neeb looking to go for a Rambai again. Reynor taking full control of this right side of the map. There's a lot of stuff on the left side as well, but he's looking to find yet another engagement as a shield battery, keeping these Archons alive. And that's quite a fair amount of Archons. Beautiful force fields are gonna block the way of the roaches a little bit. Disruption Nova does not eject, but meanwhile the surround is incoming. Only one disruptor staying alive in the other side of the map. These charge lots are getting heads. 8 drones are going to fall. And both players, they didn't really feel that well after what has just happened. Reynor losing a little bit too many drones though. And Neeb is gonna sit at 82 workers. More than his opponent. And his charge load run-by is still ongoing. He's still taking units, still taking heads. Oh, this Roach finally clears it. But oh my god, in the main even more. The Warp Prism was able to get yet another Warp Pin, and 13 drones is going to be the total amount of drones lost by the Zero player. Neeb making his way forward. It's a little bit of a bold move, so many queens. One is gonna get immediately popped by that one Purification Nova. Oh, but Reynor wants to bite back. That's not a lot of defense over here. And the Banelings claim 19 probes. While the rest of the units of Reynor cleared the shield battery in the middle of this ramp, in between the natural and the third. Is one Oracle really putting a lot of effort into keeping the army count of Reynor as low as possible. Another Baneling run by will be found out by the Void Ray, and both Banelings will not really find any damage. Meanwhile, carries incoming from Neeb. And you can see Reynor on Hive Tech, Adrenal Glands, plus 3 melee. Really wants to go fast or die trying. Reynor with linked Banelings is gonna try to break his opponent. Not a lot of anti-air. This Void Ray though will be found. While Neeb was not looking, will be killed by Ravager Vials. It's a lot of units for defense over here. On the other side, Neeb is keeping a fair amount of Archons as well. How many Archons does Neeb have actually? 7. That's a lot of Archons. It's not really easy to break as the Zero player. And with +1 air attack, and of course, the carriers arriving into the field, it's bound to become a little bit more difficult for Reynor to keep a hold into this game. Spire halfway through, but this Spire takes a long time before it's done. A lot of Corruptors are going to be needed since Neeb is already reaching not critical mass, but a fair amount of carriers, especially with these many Archons on the ground. Meanwhile, Reynor rebuilding his ground army. Lots and lots of Banelings, but the carriers are already keeping Reynor on his own side of the map. Creep doesn't really manage to be spread as much as the Zero player would have liked to. And let me check if Storm is done. Storm is not done. So those Corruptors might have a little bit of an easier time getting onto the carriers. It's only the 3 carriers so far. These Interceptors do pack a punch with +2 air weapons incoming as well. But there's a lot of queens on the ground. Yeah, these Archons taking so many Banelings shots. The surrounding coming from Reynor, catching all the key units from Neeb. Only one Disruptor survived, but so many Archons are still alive. The Roach is a little bit out of position. The Queens desperately trying to keep the Interceptors count low enough. Meanwhile, in the main, huge warping of Zealots, and the Spire is their target. 6 Corruptors are incoming, but it won't be enough. Reynor not in the best spot right now. Will he be able to hold? That's not as easy as someone may think. 18 drones are falling. Meanwhile, Ravagers being moved into the main. The lanes finally take care of the Zealot run by, but this base over here is definitely going to fall, and not much can be done by Reynor. He's going to find an Oracle struggling in the middle of nowhere, but he's not gonna get the kill. Reynor, not really the cleanest defense after a very good surround, getting so many key units. The carriers just clutched it, and so many Archons just stanking the Banelings explosion left and right, keeping the army of Neeb very healthy and still very scary. With 3 more carriers incoming, the Spire killed. Neeb knows his transition doesn't really have a counter right now with so few queens. Reynor going for a little bit of a desperate counter attack. That's not much for in terms of defense over here for Neeb, especially with Reynor trying to send Banelings into the mirror lines. But Neeb wants to strike back again. More Zealots trying to get on top of the production of Reynor, on top of his economy. And the lanes might need to do a miracle over here. Reynor pulling the rest of his army back here in the 4th base. Not a lot of losses, but these Zealots will not find a lot of damage. Indeed, Neeb still very, very healthy on the army supply. Gonna lose a couple zealots to these banelings, but those banelings are not gonna hit another mineral line. Air weapons level 2, as you can see on the right, about to finish. Reynor will manage to get a kill onto these nexus, well, a cancel onto these nexus after getting the kill. But Neeb is just looking for blood. These corruptors are not home to defend. And now it's 6 carriers ready to strike. And anti-air is not something Reynor can really afford right now. Not a lot of gas, just the corruptors he has, plus 3 more incoming. Spore crawlers doing their best at keeping these carriers at bay. Baneling's connections are good, but Arkon just tanking so much of those shots. Neeb is not giving up on getting onto creep and killing as much as possible, while Reynor slowly but steadily retreating into a more defensive position. Doesn't really look like he has much to defend anymore though. And Neeb is building up the critical mass I was talking about. So many Archons, so much value out of these Archons as well. Now there's one Disruptor to try and keep the Ravager count low, but the Disruptor gets immediately killed. So many carriers, not really a way for Reynor to break into those. And I think this might be it. Reynor trying to get a little bit of a counter on this side, but he's going to lose one of his most important bases. He only has one left real mining base, since both his main and natural really starved out of resources. The Raptors trying to desperately dive onto the carriers, but it's just a little bit too much. It's time for the second set of this best of 3 series, potentially the last, since this player here from the USA and Team Ting, spawning in the bottom right hand corner as the Red Protoss, is 1 win away from getting out of this group. Can he do it? It's Neeb. His opponent in the blue from Team Clash, hailing from Italy, the world champion in its 2 in a row. Oh boy, it is Reynor. Yeah, this just happens. Who bothers with probes nowadays, am I right? Just take your third. Very common. Probably something you're gonna see like 95% of the times you see a PVZ. I may even go a little bit higher on the number, but some players decide not to. And I do think, oh my god, yeah, wait. Why do I have the feeling that this is insanely greedy? You're playing against one of the most aggressive Xur players that ever existed. And you're just gonna go ahead, yeah, I'm gonna take the gold base. Nah. I'd say nah. And actually, I mean, like, Reynor learned a powerful lesson in the previous game. Neeb is just amazing once it comes to some of the later stages. In a way, you can get so much key units in so little time and make such good use of it. So I do have a feeling Reynor doesn't really want Neeb to get to that point. He really wants to stop, like, stop him on time, right? And considering we're talking about, as I was saying before, like a very aggressive Xur player, I might not be surprised if Reynor decides to go for a little bit of a timing attack. Oh, Reynor sees the prods being recalled, and I think he knows what's up. That's something which you don't really see that often. And if that happens, you know that's for one reason and one reason only. And that's a gold base. You see the lanes immediately being sent over here at this gold base and finding a couple undefended probes. It's a little bit more than a couple, but you can see 2 of that's being chrono boosted at once in a full wall of into the main. Reynor will keep his overload for further scouting. It's just a 1 kill. I don't know if Reynor is going to find any more. Probably not, since the adepts are shading right on top of these lanes. And of course the shield battery will keep those probes alive. It's good scouting out of Reynor, but he needs to do something ASAP. Neeb still wants to get some scouting of his own, going to send the 2 adepts on the map. Check what is going on Reynor's side. Yeah, that's... Are they going to complete their shade? No, they're not. Neeblet knows better. Neeblet does not fall for such mundane tricks. He's also going to get a Crypt Tumor for his efforts. Now it's 4 adepts. Yeah, I was about to say I don't really think you should shade over there. Like, the possibility that Reynor counter-strikes as soon as those adepts are going to be cleared with a lot of lanes are very high. And you can see Reynor pretty much producing almost exclusively lanes. Very few drones in his production cycles. As you can see, he's going to be actually behind in workers more than you're supposed to. He's going to send a lot of lanes on the way, but so many adepts already. Gold bases do miracles. And now Reynor has the retreat, and maybe try to catch these shades before they can happen. Meanwhile, the Overlord will be killed by these Void Ray. Green's trying to chip the adepts before they can shade in. The shades do not complete, and Reynor will fend them off for the time being. Not really able to counter-strike yet. Tala Council incoming. So these are glaiveless adepts. They're still very powerful adepts. And very high counts. Going to shade backwards while trying to get a couple kills. And while the Void Ray heading straight into the main. There's 2 queens to defend over here. I don't really think this single Void Ray can do much, especially with the Neeb zones. You can see Neeb finally deciding to break down his own wall. And that is going to be scouted by Reynor. Blink is incoming as well, while Reynor on his own side is going to get a lair, an Evo Chamber, and a Roach Warren. All the pieces of the puzzle getting together, with a Baneley nesting coming probably shortly after. Actually, probably right about now, in a little bit at least. Oh, maybe not a Baneley nest at all with that missile attack upgrade incoming for the Zerg player. Hallucinated Phoenix is gonna get a very good scouting. Meanwhile, Reynor trying to take his own gold base. But Neeb has so many resources already. Such an explosion of gateways with so many units on the field already. This is going to be a very deadly attack coming out of Neeb in a little while. Reynor still trying to get into this gold base. So hard to break. Not a lot of these minerals have been mined yet, so Reynor cannot get into this base. From that position, he needs to go all the way around. But there's a full wall up right now. Neeb did his own works, but these gateways taking severe damage. The rest of the army needs to be called here for help. And they do indeed manage to fend the army of Reynor off. Is he going to be Swarmos? This is a very early infestation pit. I would love to see some Swarmos action. Lots of roaches on the ground already as well to defend these Swarmos. Reynor not really banking a lot of resources though. So maybe just want to get a hive out as fast as possible. Yeah, here it comes. Not a lot of overloads, not a lot of resources, it's just going to be a hive. A little bit of a tech rush on the side of Reynor to get those lurkers out. As you can see, Hydra Den being started as well, with a lurker den following probably immediately after. Reynor has a lot of army on the ground, playing very defensive so far, knowing he didn't really manage to slow down Neeb's very powerful economy. A couple of lanes are going to be caught by this stasis ward on the right, and indeed he's just going to lose them in a little bit. Oh, Maybe not. Overseer in the main, getting a little bit of a scouting. Going to fall very shortly after seeing the double chrono boost on Forge and Twilight Council. But it's Lurker's time already. Lurker's clock is incoming. And Neeb wants to get damage before that happens. Reynor doing actually a magnificent job at staying on par with his opponent. So many queens are gonna be cut out by these force fields. Neeb really doing a huge work at keeping the army of Reynor out of this fight as much as possible. Fighting only Alpha Vid at a time, but he's immortal on the right. He's not really faring that well. The rest of the army of Neeb, though, really breaking forward. Lurker then almost finished. A couple Hydras in the making. There's a stasis ward to avoid any surrounds. And these Stalkers are in position to attack at the gold base. Meanwhile, in the main, Reynor, lots of lanes, finding a way in. Only to be greeted by Stalkers. This base is not going to be easy to defend. 6 Lurkers incoming, as well as +2 missile attack and tunneling close. Not range upgrade so far. He wants to get these Lurkers on the field fast right now and defend this base. Will he be able to? Oh my goodness, just barely. Oh, the Queens transfusing it, but it's not going to be enough. The Lurkers doing their best at defending, but still, Reynor over here, so much army with such good upgrades incoming in a little bit. Not even a Templar Archive out yet, and now Reynor is ready to send his Lurkers in as well. Neeb doesn't really manage to find the huge advantage he was looking for in the early game. A couple Lurkers being caught by a stasis ward, one actually getting killed by the Stalkers. Oh, the army of Reynor retreating from Voidgrades and Stalkers alike. Couple Lurkers being made over here, burrowing immediately. They're a little bit out of range without the range upgrade. The Disruptors doing a huge work at keeping the Roach count low. Such a blow for blow battle so far. But the Lurker count is just raising exponentially. It's going to be at 11 in a little bit. +2 missile attacks about to finish. And now range for these Lurkers is halfway through. Here on the right, 2 Lurkers are going to be killed after another Stasis Ward catches a couple units of Reynor out on the field. Oh, but Reynor is marching forward. He's sending his Lurkers in, tunneling close, really helping. With the Oracle falling down, less vision is going to be established by Neeb, who's now retreating with just Stalkers against lanes. And Stalkers, guys, they're not the greatest unit ever. Just generalists, right? And generalists do not fare that well against such a concentrated army on one job and one job only. And that's holding position and breaking forward. Siege up, siege down. Neeb trying to find a way around it with his mobile army. He doesn't really pack a punch. While the army of Reynor, there's basically instant one-shots. Almost everything. One Purification Nova is going to connect, the other does not. The army of Reynor trying to get us around. There's so much army for Reynor. How did he get so much stuff on the ground? Neeb is forced to retreat and is not looking good. Meanwhile, Lurker on the gold base is gonna destroy everything on its path. What a beautiful game by the Xur player. Even with the economy disadvantage, just marching forward with his own army. Reynor takes game number 2. It's Deciders match time. In the Deciders series, the score is tied. Game number 3. Here on Berlingrad. In the bottom right hand corner, the blue Zerg is currently spawning. The world champion from Team Clash. Hailing from Italy, it's Reynor. His opponent in the red, instead in the top left hand corner, the Protoss player from Team Ting. Hailing from the United States of America, it is Neeb. How did he managed to block this archer. This map is actually huge. Whatever, man. He must have sent like his probe like immediately at the start of the game. Yeah, actually this map is huge. There's so much open ground in the middle as well. Like these rocks, yeah, they're not gonna do much. Huh. What an interesting map. Like, it actually looks more difficult to hold in the beginning of the game than it is later on. Like, everything is so clumped. And there's actually a lot of possible ways you can expand to the sides. I think it is balanced by the fact like these two bases are so close together, as well as this one and this one. And sooner rather than later, the two players are actually going to fend off on this side over here. We're seeing indeed a macro map. Reminded me a little bit of, how was it called? Port Alexander, I think? It shares a lot of similarities with that map. More or less, it's the same layout. It has less high ground and low ground, but it looks very similar in dimension and layout. Like, very similar. I guess this natural is also kind of huge, which is something that didn't happen in Port Alexander, which had a pretty tiny natural back in the day. Pretty curious to see how the players will interpret this map. Over here we see a Stargate opener. Again, it's solid. It's a little bit harder to execute, but it just gets you so much more than any other opener. Especially on bigger maps. And Reynor already looking to go for a little bit of a scout in the main base of Neeb. With an Oracle first this time, no Void Ray to deny scouting, no Void Ray to deny early aggression. I do like this choice out of Neeb. He wants to get pressure as early as possible, he wants to get scouting as early as possible, and he wants to support his adepts with a little bit more firepower. I really like this choice out of the Protoss player. I wouldn't need a Phoenix as well, actually, but it's not really needed. Yeah, he's just gonna go for the second Oracle, probably a third one as well. Meanwhile, a couple lanes trying to make their way through the map to get some scouting information from Reynor as well. Meanwhile, Neeb already on 3 adapts, 4th one incoming, and he really wants to put some pressure early on. This map is very similar to Port Alexander. It gives me a lot of the same vibes. I guess it's from the same artist, from the same map maker. Actually, I would bet on it. Really, they're so similar. I would bet on it. I didn't notice this. It is this mineral field wall as well as the debris. It's really cool. It's a good way to get a macro map with a little bit of a twist, right? Like, this position is incredibly easy to defend with this, but it has a little bit of a twist. Like, it gets a little bit difficult to walk in the middle of the map reinforcements and such if you forget about those things. Meanwhile, Neeb sending his 5 adapts to get some damage. That's not a lot of defense over here. That's a couple lanes trying to get around the shades. Yeah, as you can see, the distance between the natural and the third is actually pretty high. So the shades might find some damage. A lot of lanes being sent over here to get on top of the adepts, which will shade through. Beautiful play by Reynor, baiting Neeb into the shade and then retreating with his drones immediately in a position Neeb will not have the possibility to attack into. Void Ray was indeed made by Neeb to get a little bit more map control, to get something done in the form of shooing away crypt tumors mostly. He will be greeted by a couple queens. Meanwhile, Reynor looking to find some struggling probes alone in the middle of nothing. Will not find any. We'll get a little bit of scout information. And nothing too crazy. Robotics Bay and Twilight Council in the making for Neeb. Both players, they really love to rush their attack in this matchup. As you can see, Reynor already with a lair done. The Roach Warren incoming. It is missile attack. He probably wants to replay the Lurk attack. Templar Archers as well, like, that's a lot of tech being dropped down by both players, like, they're really just posturing a lot. Like, you can see Reynor having an insane amount of creep on the map already. And it's just no one really going for anything. We see Neeb killed 3 drones earlier, but you just care about tech. His Overseer is gonna desperately try to get some scouting information, but the Void Ray just won't allow it. Reynor indeed finds out Neeb is looking to expand in his 4th base while he has 5 bases of his own. He's gonna be pretty content about it, but Neeb really wants to get a little bit more damage done. 2 more drones and the Revelation dropped to check the count on this base. Hydra Den almost done, halfway through. It is indeed another Lurker game on the side of Reynor, and I already love this transition. Phoenix is incoming out of Neeb, taking a different turn for this game. And scouting information he got, he might not be immediately prompted into thinking it's oh well, yeah, like, yeah, now he knows. Now he definitely knows. He already got the counter at the ready. He just needs to execute it, which is, well, I was a little bit unfair. He's still not just executing, like, it's very complicated, but it has a counter at the ready. Zealot's trying to go for a run by over here. Not really the most defended base, but there's enough creep for Reynor to get here on time. The Queen will actually survive, and another Overseer will be made. Neeb finally finding a couple creep tumors and killing them to stop this insane advance of creep that Reynor was able to build up. While Reynor looking to trade a little bit of supply, sending a couple of roaches probably to their deaths, just to get this pattern over here, avoiding any shield batteries in the middle of this ramp. And you can see Reynor mining these 2 mineral fields while Neeb kept them over here, which might lead us into a couple interesting scenarios. Since the army of Neeb cannot be reinforced that easily from their location, you will need a warp prism, otherwise his army will just be slower than the one of Reynor. And it is already slower since there's so much creep. It will be even more slow, and now that Nidus is a thing, this might get a little bit scary for Neeb. Oh yeah. For people who know me, who have played with me or against me, they know this is my signature build. And you know what? I absolutely love this. Nidus in the main, Lurkers incoming, not even Queens being sent into the Nidus. Who needs those? He just wants to transfer his army around. And now the Lurkers are on to the production. Oh, beautiful Lurker over here to get on top of the Prods instead. The production is not even really in the best spot, but Lurkers are trapped by these Zealots, not finding a way to actually deal enough damage is Reynor. He'll get a couple probes, but not much more. Meanwhile, on his own side of the map, he's going to lose more drones than his opponent is losing probes. Finally, Lurkers getting to 5 probes. This is not the best attack I've ever seen. Reynor over here in the main sending even more units and trading stuff. But these Zealots already do pack a punch. Sending a lot of units actually. They're sending a little bit too many. They're just dying one after the other. With Neeb having a very high amount of Zealots over here. The Hydras do pack a punch, but the Zealots are just that good against Hydras. Meanwhile, on this right side of the map, Neeb is already striking so many Purification Novas. It's gonna hit so many key units. Reynor finding himself insanely behind after a poorly executed Nidus network. Carriers have arrived. There's no storm yet, but Light Templars are rising in count to make even more Archons. The Purification Nova is gonna hit only a single Lurker. Meanwhile, the Lurkers have finally range, and they're actually in a very decent amount. Like 10 is not really critical mass. It's getting very close. The army of Neeb trapped between a rock and a hard place. Oh, the second half of it cannot really get that close either. He's trying to go for a sandwich over here in the middle, but Lurkers are still dealing a lot of damage. You can see Reynor happily trading up into the army of Neeb, killing so many units. Archons, just the one left standing. Another carriers have arrived, but there's a couple Hydras to keep these Interceptors from dealing too much damage. Still, Interceptors are sooner rather than later going to clutch it, as well as these remaining Stalkers. It's only 4 Lurkers being left over here. The Phoenixes will try to lift them before they can escape. But Neeb will not get the best of trades. Reynor's Lurkers count has been reset, which is very good, but the Hydras after Hydra are popping out, and there's not really a way for these carriers to get enough Interceptors to threaten the creep of Reynor. Actually, Hydra started stepping forward onto the carriers. It's gonna kill one. Such a cost-efficient trade on the side of Reynor. He's still gonna have more losses, and he just has so much more economy than his opponent so far. Reynor still marching forward. No storm inside. Plus 3 ground weapons in the making. Not a lot of Lurkers, just 1. But the Hydras are in high enough count to stop the carriers from actually doing basically anything. Another Lurker incoming and 1 more in the making. Reynor is in a very good spot, but he might be overstepping a little bit. I would love to see him get a little bit more production, a little bit more economy as a backup plan. Since the carriers are still being made 3 at a time, and there's going to be a moment in which Hydras are not going to be anymore. Enough Zealots, enough Archons, and those Hydras are just gonna pop immediately. Lurkers trying to get around everything. Hydras trying to keep the Interceptor count low, but this moment in time is where Neeb has got almost the critical mass of carriers of his own. The Hydras will indeed be able to kill most of the Interceptors, but this trade was not as efficient as the ones we've seen before, and you can see Neeb happily taking the lead in army supply with more carriers incoming, and finally Corruptors popping out of those archeries for Reynor. And while here in the bottom left, Reynor trying to get this Nexus. Not going to be cancelled, but Neeb is not really making any moves to save it yet. Slowly but steadily, the Lurkers are gonna chip at that 1 Nexus. Neeb has eyes on the prize on the right side. Finally, Zealots coming into the rescue. Gonna stop these Lurkers from killing the Nexus. Meanwhile, over here, a little bit of a bad spot to fight for Reynor. Here in this choke point, Neeb is gonna have a huge advantage. And he's just gonna immediately kill these Nexus. Plus 2 air weapons incoming for Neeb. Reynor, I don't really see him having an answer. I would love to see Vipers, maybe Infestors, more Corruptors, while keeping the Lurkers count high enough, which is possibly the hardest army to ever be microed by any player. Reynor making moves over here to kill this base. He will find the kill. Keeping the economy of Neeb as low as possible is indeed a good move on the side of Reynor. Corruptors trying to get around, trying to get on the carriers. Well, Neeb is not looking. But Reynor doesn't have the healthiest of army supplies. Yoink! And one carrier go down. One carrier go down. Waiting for a second yoink. And yoink. Oh, maybe a third one. Oh, the Viper goes down. A little bit of a misplay for Reynor. That Viper still had energy. It's such a valuable unit. You cannot lose those willy-nilly. And Reynor, all of a sudden, supply blocked. Yeah, this is looking rough on the Zero player. Still enough lurkers on the ground to stop the army of Neeb from simply marching forward. Storm almost done. Another Viper is out on the field, ready to yoink even more Corruptors, even more carriers, and the Corruptors ready to finish the job. This is why Vipers are so good. Meanwhile over here, Zealots trying to get a little bit more damage. Going to be 2 drones. At this point in the game, Zealot Rheinbys are basically free, since all you need is Vespine. So even just as the lightest amount of disruption they can cause, it's still a good thing. And keeping lurkers away from the main battle, like you can see over here, lurkers kept in bases for defense against Zealot Rheinbys, is still a win in Neeb's book. Meanwhile, Reynor supply blocked again. You can see Neeb being clearly ahead in the gas department, but yoink after yoink. Oh, feedback! Not enough to kill it. Yoink after yoink, Reynor is getting a lot of carriers. And right now, he sits at 5 carriers killed, which is very significant. A beautiful storm and a feedback, it looks like, is going to almost kill a single Viper. Oh, the other Viper actually died. Oh, maybe it's just... yeah, I think it's just sucking from an archery. Yeah, here it is. There's a mothership incoming. Like, you know, just to add it. Is it going to be useful? No, it's not. But it's nice to add this. There's one of those targets on its back, right? Like, just abduct me. And it's definitely what is going to happen. The last 3 missile attack for the army of Reynor is incoming. I don't really see a lot of air upgrades. It's just +1/+1. Oh, the feedbacks. Oh boy. These Vipers are not really finding the value the Reynor wanted. Oh, carriers are going to get a couple shots onto these Corruptors, killing one basically for free. They're not as valuable as carriers, but it's still a good thing to kill a couple. This game is going the distance, is it? Reynor really in control of the economy so far. I mean, 1 more base than his opponent. Actually 2. Well, no, let's just do it 1. He's 1 in the make. Oh, whoa, 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 whoa. The base was immediately cancelled. Reynor was very far away from protecting it. And you know what? Actually, Neeb is ahead in bases. And this base is not complete yet. Now they're even, but... yeah, Reynor needs to do something about it. Needs to keep saving gas. Oh, yes, the abduct. Oh, did the Viper die? Oh, it did. Yeah, 1 Viper from 1 carrier. That's not gonna cut it. Reynor needs to find more. Meanwhile, these Zealots trying to keep this base from ever happening. They will not manage with 2 Lurkers there for defense. Lurkers trying to get over here as well, but there's photon cannons ready to strike before the Lurkers can actually get any significant damage. They will try to get onto the Templars. All of them survive, but just barely. Another council on this base, with a Hallucinating Phoenix being sent in to check the positioning of the army of Reynor. Maybe there's a couple units stationed over here as well to avoid Lurkers from getting in and getting a free amount of damage. Which is definitely what Reynor is looking forward to. Still a lot of lurkers. Not easy to defend over here. Neeb moves a little bit out of the way. The photon cannons are going to be slightly outranged by the lurkers. The one Archon was heading a little bit too forward. The Immortals, helped by the shield battery overcharge, they're gonna kill a couple lurkers and keep the base alive. Oh, the mothership is there. Oh my god, these storms getting perfectly on top of every single corruptor. And Reynor is forced to retreat before he can abduct the mothership. What an intense game. 5 more Stargates? Neeb doing things just because he can. And those 5 Stargates are going to be a huge boon once those 2 players start actually trading their armies. And Neeb is going to be able to make a lot of carries at a single time, while his static defense buys him time. If it ever comes to that situation, since Neeb is I will say he's in a very confident lead, getting a cancel again on this base with the Dark Templar. And honestly, it's not like the main armies are really clashing in favor of Reynor. A couple yoinks are gonna go in favor of the Zerg player, yes, but there's still so many Templars with so much energy. It's only 3 carriers, but yeah, there's not really much on the ground for Reynor. 2 more carriers going to be abducted. The Vipers are in a little bit of a pickle. Good storms, not good enough. Only 1 carrier left standing. Wait a second, this game is turning on its head. Another yoink. And now Reynor has a million corruptors and nothing to shoot at. Him making 3 Tempests. I don't love it, not necessarily. I don't think it's bad. I just think it's there. Like, it's kind of clear right now that Neeb is not going to get much done in the air, with Reynor consistently having Vipers abducting key units left and right. It's not like that is not going to happen with things such as Eye Templars or Disruptors. They have a little bit of an easier time walking away, I say. More lurkers being sent here on the right to try and get something done. That's a lot of Archons on the ground. Meanwhile, this army over here, I think it's definitely going to march forward. There's a couple lurkers. Neeb does not have as much as he wanted to over here. Actually, the steady defense in the top right has been almost completely deflected. That's a lot of Archons. But they cannot really get that close. Shield body overcharge really helping these probes stay alive, but not for long. And now it's time for the lurker to go nuts onto those poor probes. Disruptors desperately trying to get on top of the lurkers. 2 lurkers will die at the cost of 1 single disruptor. Another feedback. Oh, it's time for the caustic spray. On the top right, Reynor clearly winning the battle and getting a lot of probes killed. This base over here is going to be defended by Neeb. Not by for a lack of trying of Reynor to kill it. That's not a lot to defend against these run by over here. The Spore Forest just never really did happen. It's not like Neeb has a lot on the air anymore. Where are the Tempests actually? Oh, he cancelled us? I think it did. He has a mothership somewhere. Where's the mothership? Mama ship? Wait. Oh, here it is. Well, he's not doing much over here. In the bottom left, Neeb is gonna try to get this base, and I think he will manage. Beautiful force fields blocking the entrance on the right side. Storms going on top of drones and just gonna absolutely melt them. And over here, a single, very brave Immortal. He's going to kill another hatchery, Reynor. Beaten in the back by his opponent. There's so many corruptors in the air, but Neeb is just not caring about those. He's just making more ground army. And it's just like so much death supply for Reynor. He needs to at least start caustic spraying something. He's gonna need those corruptors in the future, because otherwise Neeb will just go air again and absolutely melt through the defenses of Reynor. But he doesn't really have a lot on the ground. At least not enough to stop Neeb from marching forward and forward. as he is over here in the bottom left hand corner. Reynor is gonna strike back. A lot of links, a lot of roaches. Not the highest priority units. So Neeb is just gonna march forward himself. Guys, that's very intense. Reynor finally managed to get this base over here. It's been a while. Oh, and the Void Rays, yeah, they're just not high enough number. Even with a prismatic overcharge. Base in the bottom left is going to be killed again for Reynor. Oh, here comes the caustic sprays. That Nexus is not really the highest priority, but yeah, caustic spray is ramping up fast. Neeb wants to strike on the right, but he's going to lose some pretty important pieces of production. 7 more Void Rays incoming. These Corruptors are going to try and get on top of these Stargates. Will they manage? Lots of Chrono Boost at once. It's a Stalker on the ground, but yeah, the Void Rays are just going to be killed one by one, as you can see. And now Reynor is ready to spray onto the Stargates as soon as he finds the right time for it. Reynor defending the base on the top right. Again, Neeb safely in the lead in supply. He has a very strong ground army with lots of Immortals, a couple Archons, 2 Disruptors, and so many High Templars. On this side, even more High Templars and even more Archons. They're gonna try to break this location. Lurker's perfectly positioned to hit on top of the ramp. Neeb cannot really get on top of these base. Here on the left, looking to defend this base from the Corruptors. Did not spray onto the Stargates though. I don't necessarily like this. I think Reynor might have done a stronger job at killing down the production of his opponent. This Viper looks like it's really no longer needed in between these many Corruptors. And it might be better if he stayed with his Lurkers. Here comes the Abductor. As you can see, already getting so much more value. Instant double kill onto those Archons. Meanwhile, Neeb on the left, still looking for more damage. It's not really important to kill those bases for Reynor on this side of the map. But it's less larva going for the Zerg player. Basically, the two players have split the map vertically in left and right side. And I have to admit, the side of Neeb has a little bit more resources than the one of Reynor. It was actually on just 2 mining bases, and one of them has already been mined by Neeb for quite a bit of time. Reynor has mined for him here for a while, but yeah, you can see, like, yeah, it's probably half the time, maybe even less. Alright, Flux Veins for these Void Rays to move even faster, getting into the face of these Corruptors even faster. It's time for those Vipers to maybe drop down the Parasitic Cloud. Sorry, Parasitic Bomb. I always mix the name of those two abilities, like, really always. Oh boy, is it? Oh, it's Abduct time. Feedback gets used immediately. It's a trade. A little bit of energy for one Void Ray, not the best of trades. Now this army, working with Void Rays as well, has become a little bit better at countering everything, and Reynor will just give up the one hatchery, give up a little bit of production. What he needs now is gas. Oh, and maybe get something done on the map with just a couple links. Reynor supply blocked again. Not the cleanest game out of the Zerg ever. It was looking good with the after the Nidus failed. Not so good anymore. Lots of Spore Crawlers, no way for that Dark Templar to get into the mineral line. But Neeb is safely keeping Creep back while destroying the production of Reynor hatchery after hatchery. Oh, the one Void Ray is going to survive. Vipers do not really have a lot of energy. More Lurkers are going to be made by Reynor, which is definitely the call against these many Immortals. The Storm is going to whiff. Oh, Disruption Nova though, trying to get on top of the Lurkers. You're gonna get only one. But so do the Vipers, abducting one Disruptor into the middle of these Lurkers, immediately killing it. lanes desperately looking for run by of their own. Not really the side of the map you're going to be able to succeed, but yeah, that's just so many photon cannons. You're never gonna break that. And Neeb actually getting this base over here. It's barely worth it to take it. Still a lot of gas, actually, it's not really barely. It's definitely worth it. Again, more abducts, more dead void rays, but these corruptors, while trading so efficiently into any air army that Neeb has ever made, might have been a little bit of a death wish for Reynor when he stopped trading them for caustic sprays, and now Neeb has such a strong ground army. Reynor having a couple lurkers, yes, but just having to work so hard with abducts and so many high tempers are just gonna immediately feed back any Viper that comes into sight. Looking for a little bit of a surround. That's a lot of lanes, a lot of lurkers. Just lurkers and corruptors. Lurkers and corruptors. And honestly, Neeb is not really looking too much into the weaknesses of these armies. Just gonna try to get through any little passageway you can get into the most important structures that Reynor has. Both players just casually dropping down a lot of static defense, but you can see Reynor not really having the gas to keep on trading this way with Neeb. He needs all his army in one place. There's a lot of lurkers. If you can keep those alive, he's in a good spot. It's not gonna be easy. I think we're approaching a big fight in a little bit. Neeb really looking to find some struggling units. A lot of lurkers over there, as well as over here. Meanwhile, Neeb sending a lot of zealots to their depths against these many spine crawlers. Reynor will kill a couple photon cannons and try to retreat. Will he burrow over here? Yes, he will. Neeb cannot really get that close. It's not many void rays with his army, and what few void rays there are. Oh, this raptor finds himself in a little bit of a knock spot. The lurkers will immediately unburrow and try to go for a defense of this base in the top right. Reynor will try to look for us around, maybe. Lurkers being split into two different sides to all attack into the ramp at once. So many lurkers into this choke point. Neeb is walking basically in a minefield. Not really finding any way into anything. Abduct is going to happen, and more key units for Neeb are going to die. 8 Tempests incoming for Neeb. Neeb says enough with his abducts, enough with his lurkers, enough with his static defense. It's time to shoot from afar and get a hold of these lurkers. How many lurkers? That's 23? That's probably 14 too many. I mean, is it ever too many? Yeah, it's not, right? These many corruptors in the area as well. It's clear that Reynor's weakness is mobility right now. He cannot really get onto different position of the map. Neeb is really trying to exploit it as best as he can. But Reynor is going for a march, actually. So many Tempests are just gonna get absolutely destroyed by... what was that damage? Oh, the Void Ray is going to be abducted as well. It's going to die. What a beautiful trade on the side of Reynor, actually. Gonna lose a couple corruptors, but it's really no big deal. Neeb still safely in the lead as far as gas go. Reynor is slowly catching up. Not really there yet, but he's not been suffering a lot of losses lately. We have gone on for 35 minutes and this game is still going, guys. Oh, make no mistake, both players really playing amazingly careful. Oh yeah, the photon cannon are a little bit hard to break, especially with the shield battery overcharge being used over here. There's not much for defense. Where are the corruptors? They're going to be so needed. The lurkers immediately popped out of existence by these Tempests. More lurkers incoming for defense, but more Tempest shots are going to make quick work of them. Oh, these abducts though. And these Vipers taking insane amounts of damage. Vipers still staying alive and still consuming the one hatchery. The army of Neeb is going to be recalled over here for defense. There's one less recall to work with for a little bit of time. Another mothership incoming from Neeb. Mothership have done nothing this game. Absolutely nothing. They traded energy out of Vipers to being abducted and instantly killed. That's all they did. And it's definitely not worth it, the 800 worth of resources. Bro, it's being sanctified. It's a citizen arrest for this queen. But yeah, they're just gonna sadly explode. Making more space for more Void Rays, which is where Protoss is really at. Stud probes down. Not that they are really needed, as you can see after mining out this side over here. Like, Neeb is always going to have more resources than his opponent. Reynor is even going to take this base over here just for the one Vespene, guys. Who knows how little Vespene in it. Tempest trying to get into Corruptors. Was that a Viper? Oh gosh, I think it was. It wasn't. It was a Corruptor. What's the second Viper though? Oh, citizen arrest! Not for long. Farewell, brave probes. 3 oracles in the making as well to drop down revelation on top of the lurkers before they can actually do anything significant. Changelings popping the stasis word is actually very good. Oh, yeah. What were you expecting, guys? The mothership to do something? Yeah, it just doesn't. Again, Neeb with a stronger focus on the air once Reynor has reached a very critical amount of lurkers. So many lurkers on the ground, and not as many corruptors as he had in the past. 13 more spore collars that are going to be made, as well as 3 more corruptors. Meanwhile, a little bit of a surround with lurkers trying to get onto the Eye Templars. So many storms going left and right, but it looks like Reynor is going on relentlessly. There's so many Void Rays though. Void Rays are going to be very difficult to deal with. Here comes the parasitic bomb, getting a hold of these Void Rays, getting a lot of damage. Will the Corruptors win this battle? Is very close, but in the end the Void Rays will be able to shoot the Corruptors away and kill the Vipers. More Corruptors are incoming to kill these Void Rays. Prismatic Overcharge is finished. Only 3 Void Rays left standing. They're going to be killed by the Corruptors. But more oracles are incoming, the 2 Tempests are still alive, and another mothership is incoming as well. Reynor has 0 income for gas. All he has right now is everything he's ever going to work with. Why did Reynor ever take this base? Creep? Quicker reinforcements? I don't really know. It's 2 Vipers, 7 Corruptors. Nothing more than this. 1 gas in the bank for Reynor. 35 minerals. The resources on this map have almost completely been depleted. Neeb can replace his army. Reynor cannot. And replacing it with Void Rays is definitely the play right now. More Zealots looking for more run-bys, trying to get Hydra Den, trying to get a Spire. Oh, but Neeb is in a very good spot right now. And more Void Rays are incoming. It's going to be 18 Void Rays against 20 Corruptors. Reynor is never going to win that. Absolutely never. 3 High Templars in the making as well. Neeb can just make more Void Rays and just A-move right now, basically. There's no way Reynor gets this. I think this game is over. Neeb, just by defending his bases in the top right and in the bottom left and stopping Reynor from getting his own instead, has found such a huge lead. And remember the Corruptors standing over these Stargates and not caustic spraying them. And this is what happens. Neeb 18 Void Rays, Mothership, 6 High Templars, and 3, soon to be 6 Tempests. Against 20 Corruptors, 2 Vipers, and a very big Dream. Oh boy. Yeah, Neeb is about to press the A move button and just go and take a coffee. Because this game is kind of over. Neeb probably overestimating the amount of resources Reynor had and how he could replace his army. Because there's really nothing the Zerg player can do right now. These Void Rays are just gonna instantly win. Reynor just actually sitting on his Porcolors, hoping to get a draw, but you cannot get a draw against Tempest if you don't engage into them. And Vipers need to do a miracle. Reynor cannot afford to lose any of his army. How many queens are on the field? It's State Hydras actually, which is something. And just 1 queen, without energy as well. More oracles incoming for Neeb. You can see the shield batteries being made. Neeb knows these minerals have no better use than this. Shield batteries in the middle of nowhere. Neeb can afford it. Reynor, such an awkward spot. Really trying to go for a last stand. There's not much to stand for. Production tab is kind of useless, guys, right now. I'm going to switch into the units tab. Just so you know what is going on, what are the losses at any single time. Tempest getting shot after shot. The Overlords being in between all of the Corruptors to force Neeb to micro a little bit more, to maybe misclick. Not much in the production side. More shield batteries. Oh yeah, that's that Corruptor. It's one less Corruptor to work with. Lurkers. Left and right spread. The Tempest being microed so efficiently. There are Corruptors are trying to get onto the Tempest. One more Corruptor down. Oh, actually, it stays alive. There's not a lot of health onto these Corruptors. And they're just getting shot after shot of this Tempest in the face. So are the Overlords tanking a little bit. Mothership. Wait a second. Both Vipers have died. There's no Overseer. Guys, Mothership is doing something. Could you believe? Reynor cannot get any way to detect those units from Neeb. All he has is these 4 color forests. And Tempest just kind of outranged those. 44 minutes. But I think this is it. Lurkers are gonna march forward into a stasis where they will die trying. Drones getting on top of the shield batteries. What even am I saying? There's no detection. No real way. This Mothership stays well behind the rest of its army. And you can see storms being used against everything. A desperate last attack. Reynor sends in the Overlords but forgets to send in the Corruptors. GG gets cold and Neeb wins the series.